So Matt, I hear there's some recent news in this
Oh,
country you
really?
live in.
Did they finally resolve the Great Timbits shortage?
No, not to my knowledge.
Did they finally make the leftists understand that frozen yogurt isn't ice cream?
No, no. What? How could you possibly convince them of that?
By having them eat fucking ice cream.
Well, they can't because they need it to be lower in fat.
It's like how adding pumpkin spice to things makes them worse, not better.
That's not what. You know what? I'm not going to finish that sentence. I am for once not going to choose to say something offensive about somebody.
Why
Told
was
you.
I baiting a little bit there, Hal?
No, it's just pumpkin spice and stereotypes and SJWs and whatever.
Yeah. Enough said.
Yes. I hope that covers it. But I'm not going to say it, so no one can say I'm being exclusionary.
Yep.
Oh, anyway, no, I think there's some bigger news that happened lately.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you know, some strange. I'm just taking a look at my Facebook, and everything is about this one event.
Oh yeah, and there's that guy with the really good hair.
Yeah, there's the guy with the really good hair who's, got power or something over somebody.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. Maybe we should stop playing coy, because I don't think anyone
Okay.
wants to listen to us play coy this long.
All right.
So we're obviously talking about the Canadian election because it happened yesterday.
Yeah, and the liberal majority that will be interesting to see if they can actually do anything with because it's only by 4%.
Well, it's enough as long as the party whip does their job. They're going to pass whatever they want.
Yeah, but you never get the whole party to vote.
If it's important, you can force them to.
Which, if you think about it, is contrary to how the system's supposed to work.
Again, I'm aware of that.
but but no, see, but the thing is, that's why I say it'll be interesting. Like we always get these numbers, right?
Yeah.
Like they're at 54. I prefer to do the percentages instead of the seats because it makes more sense. So you don't have to do the math in your head.
Okay.
Um, so they have 54%.
Of the seats.
Yeah. The Conservatives have 29 and NDP is 13, then we don't care.
Yeah.
So,
Well, the NDP's runs are even irrelevant, really.
yeah. But that's what I'm saying. The first 200 days, I'd like to see what happens because you always get people who something happens and they switch sides or whatever.
I think there's two confidence motions in the first 200 days, and they'll need to
Yeah.
win both. Because
But even then,
one's the
even
crown
John,
speech and one will be the first budget.
yeah, no, I'm not even talking that. Sorry, I'm talking about you will occasionally in the first 200 days. I find you get that's when most MPs are going to cross the floor for the.
Yes. If they do, they will cross it early. I agree.
That's what I mean. That's why I always like to give it the first 200 days. It'll probably stay around where it is.
Yeah. I mean, they will still have a
A
huge amount of
majority.
controlling power.
Yeah. The yeah, but then that's like too though. Like you say, that'll really give us an idea in the first 200 days too what the party's actually going to do.
Yeah, it'll point us in what of their promises is actually attainable, because there's a
Yeah.
whole lot of information that the prime minister's office has that no one else does.
Yeah.
So you make these promises knowing that there could be information that prevents you from following through on them.
Yeah, exactly. But that's also the whole idea that with the manifestos, right?
Yeah,
For the whole campaign, we talked about the manifestos.
yeah,
But then, if you look at any of the elections, right? Anyone, even when they get, I forget which party it is, when they got like all but one seat or something ridiculous, or all of them.
Didn't the liberals do it?
Yeah, it was like
I think the
early
liberals did it.
'80s or something. They got every single seat.
Mostly, yeah. Oh, yeah. It was wasn't it under Trudeau, senior?
No, it wasn't Trudeau.
Because well, that was the early '80s. Or are you talking about? Because he was
It was,
in the late '70s into the early '80s, and he lost one election, and then came back again. Still in the '70s.
it was.
I
I
think
think
the
it was
vote was in the
Trudeau's
'80s.
first win. I think it was the year before that there was one. I'll have to look it up.
Yeah. Neither of us
But you
can
know what I
say
mean.
with
There was one
facts
year when
about it.
they had
Yes, there
everything.
was one where it was stupidly one-sided. I don't think it
But
was
even
all of
then,
them,
they
but it was
sort of
most.
got in and then said okay, and threw the manifesto over their shoulder and just did what they were going
Well,
to
yeah,
do.
because they didn't think they had to anyway. What, you
Yeah,
think that much of a vote's going to change? Well, yeah, kind of does.
yeah, but you know what I mean though. They never follow the manifesto, so I don't know why we get all butthurt over them.
No, no, they don't always completely follow them, but it is usually a good guide. It's a good idea of how they'd like to solve certain issues, and they
Yeah.
have the same information we do, so we can only do so much to base our decisions on. So
What I'd like to see is the manifesto come out, right?
yeah,
But with certain items in order of priority.
okay,
So like say if we can do A at the sacrifice of C, D, and E,
yeah,
then we're gonna go for A gung ho.
okay, fair enough.
But if we'd have to sacrifice A to do C, D, and E, well then we're not gonna do C, D, and E.
Yeah, makes sense.
But no one's ever willing to say which issues they're gonna be really putting to the forefront. All they campaign on is the issues that make them the most different from the other parties, even
Yeah.
that's not a major core thing that they're going for.
Did you actually read the Liberals' platform there?
I did. I read the Liberal one and I read the Conservative one.
Oh, see, I didn't even bother reading the Conservative one because I had no interest in that bullshit. I actually read the other three.
I didn't read the NDP,
I did. I even read the Green.
so I didn't expect the NDP to get anywhere.
I didn't think they'd be competitive either, but I also didn't expect the Green to be competitive. Yet, I wanted to at least try to make an informed decision.
Yeah, but but yeah, no, it's you know what though when you read the Conservative one, it's actually not bad.
No, it's not that it's bad. It's just that it's not enough for what we need.
Yeah,
And a lot of
and
I mean, obviously the biggest issue is the economy. And in the case of the Conservatives' economy, it's we'll just hold it out and rebound. Well, that's only going to work for people who are in a solid position.
that's true. But
The other like 40% of our country could very well get completely screwed over and has already been completely screwed over by this process of just waiting it out. So
That's
yeah,
true,
we're going to have
but
60% will be okay, and the other 40 are fucked.
yes, but but if you're going to talk about it in terms of economics, right?
Yeah.
Under the Conservatives,
Mhm.
with the most recent recession, which depending which economists
Economists.
you talk
Economists.
you talk to, that's like the Flanderses.
Yeah,
Anyway,
you're having a tough time there, bud.
anyway, depending on with whom you speak, the had to make up for it there with the posture.
Yeah, that's good.
Anyway,
I'm glad you postured yourself in the right position.
all right, depending on who you talk to, whether or not we're still coming out of it or not, but Canada weathered the storm better than anybody else.
It's, in all fairness, that's because we were in the best position. We were taking the least risks going into it.
And it's also because at the time the guy who was the head of Bank of Canada is kind of a badass.
Well, yeah, that's true, but we're still in a position where we're in a lot of trouble. And although and you're right, economically, we were better off going into the first recession, coming out of it, going into our second one, and coming out of our second one than most other countries in the same position.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. However, there's a lot of other things that are going on that are affecting the economy other than just the straight up, dollar exchange and
Oh, absolutely.
there's a lot more going on than that. And there's a lot of things that are being affected by that approach that are completely screwed over. Like, well, take a look at the job market. In the country, we average, what is it? It's 8 high percent or 9 low, something like that, percent
It's in
unemployment.
air.
Yeah, and that's not counting your temporary and seasonal workers. Those are all included as being fully employed in that stats.
That's true, but in those stats,
partially
we're doing
unemployed,
better
we're
than
looking
the
at
U.S.
like 17 or 18%.
Yeah, but we're doing better than the U.S. We're doing better than the U.K. We're doing better than...
But what's our goal? To be better than those other countries, or to do the best we can?
To do the best we can.
So comparing us to them really isn't a very good comparison.
That's true.
The U.S. is in a far different situation. I mean, the U.S. can pretty much just print money and no one gives a shit. They've done it before.
Yeah, but it's the only
So
available
it's really
metric, right?
Well,
I'm not saying it's a good one, but...
all we can really compare is our trades to theirs, which is how the dollar works, is our trades versus theirs, which is why our dollar's going down, because our trades are less valuable than theirs, because of how they're recovering versus how we're recovering.
Yeah.
I mean, from an unemployment perspective, we have a lot more unemployment than they do. But they've got a lot more underemployment, and their minimum is so much lower that it doesn't cover their cost of living as well as ours does.
Yeah, so it's there's a lot more maths to it than there is on the surface. I'm not saying there isn't, But I'm saying this is a general metric for comparison purposes.
Yes.
It's it's not the best, but it's not ridiculous either.
No, I mean the conservatives are part of the reason we were able to keep those recessions as under control as we could.
Yeah.
But we can either buckle down and try to not lose, which is basically what that approach is, or we can take the risks and attempt to recover faster. Attempt to solve some of these huge income inequality issues that we're faced as a country because of this conservative approach.
Yeah.
But it's always a trade-off, right? And as far as I see it, the way I interpreted it and the way that I chose to vote was not from a pragmatic, we've got to defend the economy so it doesn't crash anymore. It's from a, okay, we've survived this long, but if we don't improve our actual living, or if you were to somehow have a quotient of quality of life, that's going to go way down so our economy can kind of float by. I think we need to take the risk to raise that quotient, even if it means losing a bit on the economic level.
No,
I mean that's the biggest possible drawback I see to that economic plan.
No, I agree with that, but I would say that the economic position of the Conservative Party, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right now, it's not a good idea.
No, I completely agree with you.
But I'm saying up until now.
No, I completely agree. That's what I meant when I was referring to it protecting us during those downtrodden times.
Yeah, so I'm saying it was the right party for the time, despite obviously there are people who have their views about different politics.
No, of course. Well, there's always going to be those people who are going to claim, well, under another government it wouldn't have collapsed. Well, actually, we collapsed because the U.S. collapsed and they drug us down with us. No matter who we had in government, there's nothing's going to happen there.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm saying, I'd say
we're in agreement. The Conservatives should have been in for this period of time they were in for. And that's why we survived as well as we did.
Yep, now it's time to see. But now we need someone who's willing to take risks.
Yeah, and we need someone who's willing to potentially look bad in doing it. Because if things start to go south, it's not going to be good for the Liberals. And it's not because they're doing anything wrong, but it's because we need to take risks in order to recover quicker.
Yeah.
It's the nature of economics. If you don't take risks, you're not going to be able to bounce back as quickly.
Yeah.
And now, if you take a look at say the NDP's approach,
no,
which is social spending, yay, social spending. Well, where's the money going to come from? Oh, we'll cut something else. It's fine. But
they don't understand budgets. They really don't.
But won't we get to a point that we can't afford your spending anymore if there's no growth? Oh no, it's fine. We'll deal with that later. Wait. So you're going to cut something else now to increase this social spending that you're going to have to cut later.
We're not the U.S. We can't just make up money.
How is this going to solve our problems? The NDP approach, and the budget they were looking to run this time would have worked if we hadn't just recovered from 2 quick recessions. If we were running high, then yes, cutting some of the spending we have to increase social spending would increase how well people live. But you can't really increase how well people.
Short-term approach.
Well, it's not that it's so much a short-term approach. It really sets the groundwork for a future long-term approach.
But it's like, no, because the way that's like make work projects, okay?
Well, that's what the Liberals are doing, are make work projects,
which don't work either.
Well, they do work for short-term. And
that's okay. Say, well, that's
the key there is blasting up employment, so there's more money, and that shoots money back into the economy. So when you try to balance the budget again, you can balance because there's more spending. That's how it's a short-term solution, and you get people into working jobs, and that expands. Well, at the end day, that last year will be, and the key there is by. Okay.
That's just because you're carrying forward losses to the next year.
Yep. But ultimately, what you're looking to do is to give people an opportunity to get more work done, to do more work, and that'll expand the opportunity for more business creation.
Yeah, but what about once those projects are gone?
No, I don't mean the infrastructure projects. That's not the business creating I mean. I mean the people who were working those business projects. Who are working the infrastructure.
Suppose, but...
Those people then have money that they can invest, they can use in the system, they can create their businesses. And that's how you look at doing it. By putting money in the pockets of your lower and middle class citizens, you have more opportunity to create more businesses of theirs, and then they can create more growth, and that's how you increase the economy.
Yeah, that works, but the problem is the majority of the time that things like that happen, people tend not to invest and they tend to save.
To a certain point, yeah. And that's why we then need to go back to being pragmatic for a bit until they're confident that they can spend again.
Yeah, that's what you say. It's like rich people don't make jobs,
No, they
right?
don't. Absolutely not. No, no, no. That's never the way it is. And it's a fool to say it's the top 1% of your job creators, which is funny because that's something I hear from the states all the time.
That's not true.
No, it's not at
That's
all.
trickle down economics, and we know it
Well,
doesn't work.
it's foolish. It doesn't work at all. No one should believe that who has any kind of knowledge of economics.
Yeah, but yet there's a very large amount of politicians who talk about it all the time.
Well, yeah, that's
Like,
because it's a misnomer. If your citizens don't know the difference, they're more likely to just believe you because you're saying the same thing the other guy's saying.
yeah, but that's like if we go back and like, I don't understand why we can't go back to taxing millionaires and stuff like we used to.
We can. The problem is, in a lot of cases, they will then move their assets somewhere that isn't going to tax them.
Yeah,
So they're creating money. They're making money off of resources from here, cheaply exporting them somewhere else, using them to make their product, and then selling them back here for a lot more.
yeah,
And
but
they're doing it because that allows them to create this stupid amount of wealth that they're not reinfusing into our economy.
no, and that's why I think we need to change our taxation policies.
We do. I agree with you.
Because that's like if you look at what, well, in New Brunswick, like what Irving does, right?
Yeah.
What they do is to make
Other
it
than
look
owning everything, what do we do?
Yeah.
Own everything. La
But-
la 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 la.
but you know what they do, right? So they never have to really pay any tax. What they do is say they need, I don't know, say they need a wall painted, right?
Yeah.
Well, we own a wall painting company.
Yep.
So we're gonna charge like $7,000 an hour to paint this wall
Yep.
to ourselves, and so all the companies look like they're barely making any money. So they all actually get bailouts.
Yep.
But because it's all private stuff going on, the books aren't available to the government.
Yep.
And then money gets funded offshore to, I forget which place the guy actually has citizenship in because he doesn't spend more than 6 months in Canada. But and that's what they do. And I think that's illegitimate. I think the government should be able to look at their books. If you're doing business in Canada, the government should be able to look into your business.
Yeah. No, I agree. They should be able to.
Not to be big brothery about it. I'm not saying, they
No,
should be
I
able
mean, this isn't C51 we're talking about here. This is a little different. This isn't
Yeah.
looking into some personal person. Anyway, we're not going to get into C51 because that's a whole debate for a whole other day. Especially
Oh, yeah.
especially since they're going to look at potentially changing it. Not really worth arguing it. Unless
No.
they
I'd
choose
like
not
to see. I'd like to see the drafted amendments.
Oh, yeah, that'd be interesting.
If they've even prepared any, or if they've just been.
They
saved
probably
by
they
the way.
probably didn't prepare any. Anyway, where were we? We were talking about the economics, and we were talking about how Irving was.
Yeah, I think we finished up on economics.
Yeah, I mean that was ultimately that was the biggest topic, and I think ultimately we pretty much agree that you need to invest in order to create growth. Which we only had one national party who was doing that. Even the Greens weren't. Do you know what the Greens' economic plan was?
No, I don't. Like I said, I didn't read it.
Okay, fair enough. They're concerned about the national debt. So we've got $600 billion in debt.
Which is less than almost every other country ever.
It is, yeah. It's especially a country of our sheer size. Population-wise, it's a little high, but square footage-wise, it's utterly low.
Yeah.
But their goal is to deal with the debt. So they want to not. They don't just want to balance the budget. They want to make a surplus to pay off the debt more quickly.
I'm okay with that. If you can do it responsibly.
But how do you do that when you're just trying to recover from a recession?
You can't. That's
Exactly.
Right now,
It doesn't make
not
sense.
done responsibly.
It seems like only one country, one party, was actually looking at, oh, wait, we're recovering from recessions and Canadians are doing really badly. We need to work on getting the Canadians to move forward so that we can overall fix where we are as a nation. There was only one party that seemed to be actually looking forward that way. Others are just like, what's a good general economic plan? Social spending.
No.
Decreasing the deficit. Defensive spending. Okay. But we're not in a situation where that's a good idea. It just... I don't know.
Yeah, no, the situation seems to be lost on a lot of them.
No, yeah, they seem to just go, what's a general type of plan we'd put in? This is a general type of plan we can put in. And that's why people love to point out how we just vote for one party, get disenfranchised, vote for the other, get disenfranchised, and just vote back and forth. But that's because the two of them stick to their economic plans and the type of economic platforms they always run on. So we want to make an aggressive series of spending to help increase the economy, and then we want to defensively protect it. And then we want to aggressively move our economy forward and then defensively protect it.
Yep. And you know what?
That's part of why it goes that way. And that's part of why we only really have two effective parties.
Yeah. You know what's funny, too, with that? What I always like, the parties, basically, right? And they're okay with that. Because it means when they get in, if something's screwed up, they can say, oh, well, that was the last guy.
That was the other guys. That wasn't us last time, honest. It was them.
Yeah. Did your oven just get up to a temperature?
Yeah, it did. No, it actually just finished cooking something. It's being really annoying. I'm trying to keep things quieter. What? No, I'm not gonna. I'm sorry. I just literally refreshed Facebook and someone linked a petition to try to get Trudeau to name Elizabeth May as the Minister for the Environment. No. That doesn't make sense.
Sorry, I was thinking Cindy Day for a minute. I was going, oh my god, that's
Day.
funny.
Oh my god, no. They're not. No, she's not gonna hire the weather woman from CTV? Is that CTV?
I forget, but if it happens in the sky, she knows why.
It used to be ATV. It used to be our Atlantic television network, but now it's. I think CTV got them. I think it's.
No, I'm saying she'd be a much better choice for an environmental person than.
No, she would be a lot. First off, she doesn't literally know everything that happens in the sky at all times, but I hate to break it to you.
If it's in the sky, she knows why, Al.
She might know why, but that doesn't mean she knows it's going to happen.
True.
Retroactive information. Thanks, Cindy. I'm glad you're with us. There's a reason we have party politics, and there's a reason that we need someone who can. We need the Prime Minister to be able to trust their cabinet on topics, not just, oh, you're someone who likes to talk about this, I'll put you in. What? No, that's why it's ministers that get the briefs for it. That's.
No, exactly.
There's a lot of people that don't understand our system. Which is part of why I made that post that you saw.
Oh, yeah.
Going into the election. I'm like, just remember, guys, you're not actually voting for the leader. That's not how our system works.
No, so many people don't get that.
I know! I thought I'd just kind of slide that in, just this little post, figuring no one would see it. It's like, no one's going to see this.
My favorite one, though, is when you explain to someone the real structure.
Oh, you mean the fact that our Prime Minister, who we don't vote for, isn't even our head of state anyway?
No, or my favorite one, though, is like the cabinet and the Prime Minister, right?
Yeah.
They just make up and all of the upper house and lower house. Mm-hmm. They compose of the Governor General's Privy Council.
Yeah.
That's all they are.
Mm-hmm.
Hasn't really worked like that in a long time.
Well, no, and I mean the perfect example is how the fuck Bill C-51 got through.
Well, they don't have the balls anymore.
Well, yeah, I mean clearly our Governor Generals are not what they used to be.
No, they don't understand their position, right? They're not just an honorary figurehead.
No, they figure that they're just being paid to sit there and twiddle their thumbs or whatever the hell it is they think they're doing.
Yeah, whereas they're a key check and balance in our parliamentary system.
Yeah. Oh, if we keep talking about checks and balances, we're going to get into talking about the Senate soon.
I love the Senate. It's hilarious, if done right.
Okay, hold on. Before we do that, because there's one thing that I want to segue into the Senate with.
Okay.
So you read the Liberals' platform, so you know how they want to change our electoral system.
Yeah. Which doesn't really matter because none of the electorate know how it works anyway.
No, but it will still affect our representation, whether we know how it works or not.
True.
I mean, getting rid of the first past the post system is great for large urban areas.
Agreed.
That's not so great for those of us who are in these smaller provinces. Yes, all of you count the same amount as all of us do, which is fine from an equality perspective. But, however, we also have our own needs that are different than yours, and you're just going to be repeating what the guy next to you says. And there's 300,000 of you in one small area saying, this is what the country needs, and we're over here going, we're in a different situation and we need this, and we're going to get the same thing you guys do. It's going to treat the entire country like it's a big urban area, when that's not going to help most of the country.
No.
Because all the power is going to be concentrated in those small areas. It's foolish.
No, it's not an appropriate system. I'm not going to say first past the post is the best system. I'm saying it's the best system we currently have.
Yeah, it from what I've seen, it's the best system there is at this point.
Yeah.
Could someone devise a better system? Maybe.
But let me do it. I'm all ears.
And how in a proportional representation system would you still have representatives for ridings? Would it just be gerrymandering the ridings?
I don't understand that either.
More?
It doesn't make sense to me.
Does it just gerrymander to the point that like the Atlantic provinces are now like 3 ridings?
It would have.
And then Toronto has like 50? Like.
That's what I don't get that
and that
part.
still doesn't do it because that's still first past the post. You still need proportional within those 50. But then our 3 are still proportional. So what the fuck are we gonna do? It's gonna work out as first past the post no matter how you do it. If you were to still leave representatives, or you're taking our representatives out, at which point our representation comes down to the Senate, if done right, which we also don't vote for. In other words, we don't have. In other words, there's no democracy for small areas. Urban areas get a democracy, and everyone else gets dictated to.
Yeah,
it's
stupid. The lower house gets taken away.
Yeah, and all that's left is the upper house, which is named, and we clearly see how well that goes.
Yeah, but that's because it's done by morons.
No, it is absolutely. But I'm absolutely ashamed and baffled at the people who don't live in these large urban areas, like who live in our smaller provinces,
who think
who are sitting there going, "You're right. It's a lot more fair if we have proportional representation. You're right. You support the NDP, and the NDP will have more representation. However, the province you live in and the area you live in will have none. But the party you want will, because that's going to work out for you."
Yep.
So when you see absolutely no spending outside of specific provincial spending, you're going to suddenly understand that we have no infrastructure, no ability to grow, and the small provinces that are already screwed economically are going to become even more screwed. It's stupid.
Yeah.
Like,
no, it goes without saying.
It's so baffling that people other than in the urban areas are saying this is a good idea. I mean, I was willing to consider not voting for the Liberals simply because of that. Except that I realize that there's no way in 4 years they're going to be able to change the electoral system.
No, it can't be done.
Exactly. So that's the way I'm looking at it, going, you can help recover the economy in that much time, and then hopefully everyone realizes, shit, we need to change to another party before that can be implemented.
Although doesn't whoever calls the election get to make the rules?
Not on the specifics. We've got laws. They still have to follow those.
No, I know that. Could you imagine if it was just like, no, you get to make it up, boys?
But then they would they'd make it an oligarchy.
Yeah, well, it is an oligarchy.
They would make it more of an oligarchy.
Yeah.
And they make it so that you don't personally vote. The representative you voted for represents your entire province. And why?
No,
because that's the one, say, conservative who was elected in your province. They vote on behalf of your province for themselves. Good job. There's your representative. All right, on to the next one. I mean,
that's just a republic.
You'd force yourself back into power every time if you had the power to choose the rules.
True. But
the winner does not set the rules.
But yeah, well, that's how a republic works. That's how the states works. Is representatives from an area go, which is stupid.
Uh-huh.
But how'd we get here? Anyway.
Well, we've really decayed
when
it came to Trudeau wanting to change the electoral system.
Which he can't do anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, that was one of the biggest problems I had with his campaign and what he wanted. So I was willing to accept that as a possibility. Although an extremely long shot at a possibility.
Yeah. What's his standpoint on Senate reform?
Oh, he wants to rehash the system, but not within the confines of the Constitution. He doesn't want to change a paperwork, just an execution standpoint. For instance, when he I'm gonna have to give you the example. When he took over the Liberal Party. he kicked the senators out of the caucus.
Well, they shouldn't be in the caucus.
Exactly. So he's kicked them out, and he's going to mandate the other parties kick theirs out. So the senators actually become nonpartisan. They're still going to be acting partisan to a certain point, but they won't be getting advice from the party itself. So if that were to stay, in a long term, it would bring the Senate back to how it originally would have been thought of. Then you still face the problems with corruptibility of man, but at least it isn't intentionally being screwed up. That's essentially the reform he wants. But he is in his platform. There is Senate reform.
Yeah. See, that's like my view on it. Is the Senate is meant to mimic the House of Lords.
Yes. Well, ultimately, that's what our Senate is. Our Senate is our House of Lords.
House of Lords. But the difference there is it's the Lords, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're in there because if you're a Lord, you can be there.
Yep.
Which, if you think about it, like their way seems to make more sense. Because it seems very difficult to me that if, say, I'm Prime Minister, right?
Okay.
And I get to
never let that happen.
All right. Whoa, sorry, I have to correct this because of the way I said. If, say, I'm the Governor General, okay?
Oh, wow. How'd you get that job, Matt?
I knew a guy who knew a guy. Anyway.
Clearly you're having a good time with something anyway.
So I'm the Governor General, and I decide I'm going to appoint senators, because really they appoint them, not the Prime Minister.
Yes.
Now, I don't think, if it was me, I would never appoint someone who had ever ran for a party ever.
Yeah. Okay. No, I can understand that.
Like, it should be people, like, you should have, I don't know, like, you should have, like, political science professors, and you should have people who are really learned in the subject.
Yeah.
Who can make a decision as unbiasedly as possible from an academic standpoint.
Yes. Now, that would be in a perfect world, which would, of course, never happen.
No.
Because you also need them to be from every region of the country. And you start to get your hands tied really quick.
Yeah.
Because you're supposed to have 2 for every province, and they're supposed to be standing up for their province within the confines of these topics. But then you also need someone who's educated to the extent that they can do that and can be unbiased enough, and you still need them to be from that province and not just transplanted in there from somewhere else.
Yeah. I don't necessarily agree with having to have equal representation in the Senate.
Okay. Go on. Why?
Because the majority of the things considered by the Senate, right?
Yes.
Are at the federal level anyway.
Yep.
So I think that a sufficiently intelligent and not necessarily unbiased, because everyone has a bias.
Well, of course.
But intelligent people can put their bias aside.
Yes. But that's more of a question of will they, not if they can.
Yeah, but that's a whole other rabbit hole.
I know, but that's the problem. You need to be able to deal with, to a certain extent, the corruptibility of man, as I pointed out earlier.
But if these people are in there and they're able to take into consideration, is this the best thing for Canadians, which is their job?
But it's
not to care about party lines, not to care about electability, any of this stuff. And people say, well, when they make these decisions, maybe the majority of Canadians want this. Who cares?
It's not what they want, it's what they need.
Exactly, that's their job. And personally, I think that a group of intelligent people, regardless of where they come from, and even though it can be arguable, that's going to give a bias because they come from somewhere with...
Well, there will, which is why you want it to be fair across the country, so you've got equal bias in all directions, so it works out to be even.
Yeah, but I think that can happen without necessarily having equal representation.
It can happen, you're right, but it's more reliable to happen if you have equal bias from all directions.
That's true, but...
Because then hopefully all those people will put their bias aside and it's just more people together.
That's true, but if you have to compromise on the quality of the senator or where the senator is from, I think you're better off to compromise on equal representation than on ability to do the job.
I agree, but the goal should still be equal representation and well-equipped. Should still be the goal.
Absolutely, and I think it's impossible.
Well, it's not impossible, it's just unlikely.
Okay, in the sense that everything is possible.
Well, I mean, it's not like you're asking for one perfect person to make all the decisions here. You need someone who can put aside their bias and can consider what's best for the country and is well informed on the topics. That's what you're looking for. That's not that big of a deal.
Yeah. See.
If you really break it down, it's not that difficult.
I don't disagree. But I'm saying if you're going to compromise on one.
No, I agree. If you had to compromise on one, it should be regional representation. I agree.
Yeah.
But the goal should still be to get even regional representation and a well-equipped group. But if you somehow only have so many people you can tap into, there's only a very small group who would actually qualify, and you can't fill all the areas, then you can't fill all the areas.
Or what you do is you set out initially, right? Because initially setup you want to be as optimistic as possible, obviously.
Yes.
You say, okay, we're going to have 2 people from each province, and we want this is an X, Y, and Z, right?
Yes.
Okay, so say you get to, I don't know, say Nova Scotia.
Yep.
And you can only get one person who meets those criteria.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
You'd have some sort of a contingency as to what to do to fill that slot with a qualified person. Like, I'd say weight the qualification over the representation.
I completely agree with you.
And I think that'd be the best way you could possibly do it.
I completely agree. I just keep pointing out that the goal should still be to have them from that region if you can.
Oh, it is. I'm saying, absolutely if you can, but I'm saying that should be the goal, but have a contingency if you can't do it. Not make it, you have to have them from these areas.
No, I completely agree. I completely agree. And we've completely agreed with each other for the last 6 or 7 minutes on this exact same topic, and we keep saying the same things back and forth.
Yeah, but we do that a lot.
I'm aware. That's why these are so long.
But yeah, okay, so now that we fixed the Senate.
Yeah, okay. It depends where we want to go next. There's a lot of other things we can touch on, because there's a lot of things that could change. I mean, we can talk about delegalization of marijuana, which within the next month should go through.
I mean decriminalization.
That's what I meant.
Yeah. Yes. Delegalization would be complicated, because that would mean it was legal, and then was illegal, and then legal, and then we're making it illegal again.
Easily. No problem. You could do it all in one bill.
Yep.
But honestly, that was probably drafted before the election anyway. Likely it's going to be within the next month and a half. It'll be through. Done.
Oh, first. I'd bet money on first 60 days.
It's gonna get delayed in the Senate, though. That's what I'm saying. It's gonna get delayed a little bit. And
yeah.
That's all that's gonna slow it down, because the Parliament's gonna go, sure.
Oh, that's not necessarily true, though.
I think it will.
Because aren't the majority of senators over the age of 62? Not senators. Well, senators, yes, they're all over the age of 62. They're all 1,000 years old.
Yeah, well. Our new Parliament, just got elected last night.
I don't know the stats on the new one.
I don't have a lot of facts on it either, except I know that that one party has a lot of power, and that was one of the important things they wanted to get through. So I feel like the party whip, if they can keep them in control, will get enough of them to vote for it. But I do think the Senate will slow it down, because the Senate is these, ancient as dirt people who only show up to one vote every 3 years and
yeah,
charge the country hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars for nothing.
Yeah.
And then we'll spend $30 million digging into them and find $3 million they wasted.
I know. That's like people talk about. There's like, $3.7 billion in unpaid taxes. Yes, but to get it all,
you'd have to spend, 20 or 30 billion.
Yeah, it's
easily.
Doesn't work like that.
No, it's not as easy as just give us the money. Oh, you're right. We'll give you the money. It's
sorry, boys. I forgot about that. I had it in the jar for you here.
You mean like Trump getting rid of all the illegals day one?
Yeah.
Day one, all of it. Someone broke down what it would cost economically to get enough people out, get enough law enforcement out, which is 10 times as much law enforcement as they have, and get them to find and track down every illegal and remove them all in one day.
What would it cost?
It's trillions of dollars. It's
Oh,
absurd. It's
they
through
don't
the
care
roof.
about that. They're
That's
the
the
U.S.
kind
They
of cost
just
he's
print
looking
money.
at.
They don't give a shit. They just print money.
And that's if you can find them all.
True.
That's a big if. That's just in paying people and shipping people. That's it.
I like how it's shipping people.
Well, some of them are in the northern states. You gotta really ship them down to Mexico or wherever they're from. I mean, to be fair, he's talking about shipping them all back to Mexico, as if Mexico's the only place they have illegals from.
Oh, it doesn't matter. They're just going to ship them all to Mexico.
They're all gonna go to Mexico. Fuck it.
You're from Argentina, you're going to Mexico. It's close enough.
Why are you from Holland? Why are you here illegally? Well, you're going to Mexico. Oh, man.
Oh, that's funny.
I don't even, now that we've got our little Trump bit out of the way. Jesus
Yeah.
Christ.
We don't have the average age for the current parliament yet.
No, not yet. Oh my god, I was so surprised when I started seeing some of our ridings go red.
Oh, I know.
No, Matt, my riding, once since we became a country, was it not blue? This is the second time ever.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it's only been a couple hundred years, but come on. Twice ever. And it's one of the ancient writings. It actually, this writing dates back to before Canada's Canada. This dates back to when it's, Eastern and Western Canada, and Western Canada was Ontario.
Yeah.
This is one of those writings, and it's gone red once going into this. It's absurd. Absolutely absurd. And then it goes red again this time, and it's a woman who's never been in politics before, upsetting the guy who's won 5 straight elections.
That's how it tends to happen, though.
I was in shock. Oh my god. It was one of the safest ridings in Canada. It was the safest conservative riding east of Alberta. And it flipped.
Yep.
That was a huge sign of what was going to happen to the rest of the night.
Oh, yeah. No, it's been...
And I think a lot of that is economics and employment, as well as a lot of anti-Harper sentiment, obviously.
Yeah, from people who don't understand.
Yeah, who don't understand the economics, which is fine. I mean, if they vote the way that I want them to, and I think economically it should go this way, I'm not going to complain. Use whatever reason you want to agree with me. I don't care. I'm not going to disagree with you.
Yeah. No, I agree. It's a lot of foolishness.
No, it is. I mean, ultimately, we just have an underinformed...
electorate.
Exactly. And I mean, I may agree with them this time, but I probably won't next time. In fact, next time, they'll probably put the Liberals back in. And I'm not convinced that's a good idea right now. And they haven't even started doing anything yet.
Yeah. See... Yeah, you're right. Honestly, I think if they go to push through... Now, are they talking decriminalization of marijuana, or are they talking legalization?
They're starting with decriminalization, but I think the goal is legalization, because there's that extra source of income they want.
Yeah,
but
it's amazing the amount of money the government makes in places where it's legal. It's ridiculous. My God.
You take a look at Colorado, Washington, D.C., or is it Oregon? There's a few... Anyway, there's 10 states, 12 at this point. The ones that started it, the first 3 or 4, the huge amount of income they have.
Oh, it's hundreds of millions.
And part of it is because they're the only one who's legalized in their vicinity, so everyone from around them is going in. So it's obviously going to be a lot less than that per state. But to think about it, the Americans, even if you were to somehow break it down per state, is still making, tens of millions of dollars per state.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's a conservative estimate. There's a lot of money in marijuana, and it's less dangerous than tobacco and alcohol.
Yeah, and we tax the shit out of that.
No, and I mean, if we were to do the same thing, we were to decriminalize it and then legalize it, it would, of course, be a step-by-step process.
Yeah.
And you get to the point that the government has it covered down as well as they have alcohol and tobacco, it would be way better. Now, I mean, I can understand people who don't know what they're talking about, like apparently our former prime minister when he talked about it, about how he said, I don't want to quote him on this, but he said something very similar to this, that marijuana is 100 times more dangerous than tobacco.
No, he said infinitely, didn't he?
Oh no, no. I think he started off saying it's 100 times. You know what? It is infinite. It was 100 times stronger, but it's infinitely worse. That's what it is. It was infinitely worse, and I think it was 100 times stronger.
Yeah.
According to some abstract concept of power in drugs, I don't really know, but yeah. Oh no, it was definitely infinitely more dangerous.
Yeah.
Whatever. It just shows he hasn't actually looked into it.
Yeah, well, that's like when you get the politicians who rhyme off shit that they've been told or that they've heard.
Oh yeah.
They don't know.
God, it just.
That's like. People wouldn't like this.
Oh no! You have to preface it. Is this like a trigger warning?
No.
Warning. People may not like this. If you are triggered by things Matt says.
If I was prime minister.
Well, luckily this is a hypothetical that's not going to happen.
Yeah, I would always use my ministers for things, and politicians never seem to ever do it.
No, of course not. Why would they do that?
You have a question about economics? I'm sorry, I'm going to refer you to the Minister for Economics.
Yeah.
Why don't they ever do that? Why not have the person whose job it literally is? Your job is to have a general understanding of everything that's going on.
Because everyone thinks that if they're the leader, they have to know and control everything.
No, they don't.
No, you
that's
have to
why
lead. You have to direct people.
Exactly. Otherwise, you wouldn't have a cabinet. You would just be the guy.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's.
And I never understood that. Although I also think you should have to be qualified to be the cabinet minister for whatever.
No, I agree. They should have to be knowledgeable in the subject before they're given the subject.
Like, if you don't have a degree in economics, you shouldn't be allowed to be the finance minister.